Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. Welcome to Guitar Daily. So today I thought I'd talk about amp distortion, and I had someone leave a comment saying that the amp distortion is far superior to pedals distortion. It was in relation to my stacking overdrives video. I thought let's check that out and see if that's actually true, and what parameters we have to work with and what have you. So here I have my little Victoria 2112, basically a Tweed Deluxe, a 5E3 type circuit. I chose this amp of my collection of amplifiers, mostly because this amp has just volume and tone. It's a pretty simple amp, so you can drive it. It's still pretty loud, but it's a classic, right? And this is a Victoria model, which is handmade, point to point, just like the originals. So I normally use a modeler in the studio here because this is going to clip my vocal mic, which is just out of shot. So I'm going to have to mute the vocal mic in between and so on and so on. But anyway, I'll start. This is my clean sound. Thing with a Tweed Deluxe is they're kind of they're pretty drivey anyway, especially with a Gibson Les Paul humbucker type guitar. So I'm using a Keeley Muse Driver, but I'm going to start with just showing the amp distortion and see how that sounds. So we're going to just take the amp. That was the amp on about 3. I'm going to take it now. I'm just going to turn it up to 10. So as you can see, it's a pretty cool overdrive sound, right? That's awesome. Like it's a Tweed amp cranked. So now I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna turn the amp back down to its kind of clean volume. I'm gonna hit it with the Keeley Muse Driver. Amp volume on about 3. So that's a pretty cool sound too. They're just different, if you ask me. They both sound good, right? The difference is the Keeley having a pedal into an amp gives me a bit more flexibility because I can go from clean something like that, right? Which I couldn't do with just the amp. I could roll the volume, but I couldn't do it that quickly. But you can see it's just a different thing, right? Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to turn the amp down as low as humanly possible. You can see that I can talk over that. So an interesting thing about that person's comment was they said that pedals sound compressed to them and lacking dynamics. And I think that's where the issue is right there, right? If you have an amp that's like barely on, then that's your dynamic range. It's this instead of, and then you hit it with a pedal and that's all you get is just a squash sound. The way I approach pedals and amps is that for me, like I want the amp like right at the point of breakup, and then I'll hit it with an overdrive pedal to just sort of kick it over more than anything. And that's kind of why I prefer kind of more overdrive sounds than distortion sounds from pedals, right? Sometimes I kind of just want to do the distortion thing too, like that's kind of fun, right? Or stack pedals to get more of a distorted type, fuzz type tone. So it's just one of those things. It's, yeah, but I can tell you which one I enjoy the most, because sitting next to that, it's really loud. It's like going right into my ears. I'm going to do a couple of experiments now. Here's a few different sounds. Let me know which one you think is the amp and which one you think is the pedal into the amp. So I'm going to call these A, B, C, and D. Let me know what you think. It's an interesting kind of thing, isn't it? I can tell you that right now I'm really struggling with the amount of volume that that's putting right in here. It's clipping my microphone. It's really, I can feel my ear getting hot because it's a lot of volume for that to kick out, right? That thing's like, it's only 20 watt amp, but it's like it's cranking, you know what I mean? It's too loud for this sort of small environment. You know, and you can use attenuators. Someone did say that you can use attenuators. They work to some degree. I haven't had a lot of luck with attenuators. I remember blowing up my Deluxe reverb back in the day using an attenuator. Maybe I did something wrong. I don't know. But attenuators are an option for that. But then part of the thing that makes a cranked amp sound good is like you're pushing air. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused with modelers, right? If you use a modeler and then there's this whole idea of the silence stage I've talked about, which sucks. It's unmusical. There's no dynamics, right? So to me, if I'm using a modeler, I still want to bring my FR, and I want to be able to get some volume so I've got some dynamic range, right? Otherwise, it's just no fun. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd be really interested to know what you have to say. You know, amp versus pedals and what you think was which, and which is better. Thanks very much. If you like this, please like and subscribe. It really helps. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Super easy. If there's something you think you'd like me to do in a video or cover or whatever, then let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. So A was the amp, just on its own, on full. B was the amp on 3 with the Muse Driver kicking it up, right, for the Overdrive. C was actually the amp about halfway on about 5 or 6 plus the Muse Driver, so it was actually amp distortion plus distortion from the pedal. And D was actually pedal into the amp, but the amp is on a lower volume, and the pedal was used in a different kind of way with a brighter tone and less kind of kick. So let me know if you guessed those all correctly.